Hello, YouTube. Thank you for stopping by my channel. My name is K.A Bloch. I am the award-winning author of 4 books on poetry and prose. I also have a website called thepracticalpoet.com, which is also the name of my channel. And my goal with my channel here is to do a little bit of storytelling through poetry and a little bit of prose. And I follow the same approach that I follow in all of my books. Whereas before we get into the reading of the poem, I do a little bit of a discussion about the poem, kind of the motivation, what inspired me to write it, even now what inspired me to talk about it when I have a lot of poems I could talk about. So what made me feature this poem this particular week? So this week, the poetry reading and little storytelling is going to be about energy. And the reason I chose to focus on energy this week is because if you're in the United States, and I'm not sure when this is going to be posted, but we are about 2 days away from an election. So there is a lot of energy in our society right now. And not all of it is positive. I'm going to say quite a bit of it is a lot of negative energy. And unfortunately, well, at least I believe energy is one of those things that can be passed from person to person, and sometimes not in a good way. So we are made of energy. We are energetic beings. I'm sorry, I have a sick kitty, and so I have her quarantined in the room with me, and she's starting to feel a little bit better, evidently. So you may hear her throughout the reading today. So I hope that you don't mind. Her name is Missy, and she's quite old. She's like 18. So we give her grace when she's not feeling well. We're still very blessed and happy that we have her with us. But going back to energy, have you ever met somebody and you feel an instant connection with them before you even barely meet? You feel like you're drawn to them, and then once you start speaking, it's like that, almost that feeling of deja vu, like we have met before, we have been in another life or another universe together, we are connected in some way. If that's ever happened to you, that's a term called resonance. I hope that I'm saying it correctly, but that's just kind of where you're drawn to somebody, that's your energy connecting, and it happens almost on a mental level or telepathically, if you will. You may not even realize that it's happening, but it is happening, and you feel that connection. It can also work in reverse too. It can work in a negative way. If you've ever walked into a party or a room and somebody else enters and they have a very negative energy, you may be repelled from that energy. You might take a step back and say, no, I don't want to be in this person's circle. I'm not liking the vibes that they're throwing off. And actually, in my 3rd book called Gather Seeds of Hope, there is a poem in there called Lessons, and that is about kind of how we sometimes have to shield ourselves. It first talks about all of the good lessons that I've learned from people in life, and then it talks about how we sometimes need to shield ourselves from the negative vibes, the negative things that other people throw off. And sometimes that means we have to take a step away from somebody and say, no, thank you, I can't be part of your world because I don't, vibe with the energy that you're sending around. So, and this concept of energy, if you've ever been in a really, really good mood and you come across somebody maybe through like a road rage incident or some kind of mishap, and they just blast you and insult you or what have you, and you instantly feel like your good mood has just shattered. And that's an unfortunate thing that happened to me many years ago. I was off, I used to volunteer at an animal shelter, actually the one that Missy came from. And I was on my way to volunteer one Sunday morning, and it was a nice Sunday morning, and there was no other cars on the road hardly except for me. And I stopped at a red light. It was a nice sunny day, and I had the radio on, and a song came on that instantly transported me way back in the past. I kind of just got lost in the memory of this song. And I had not realized that the light changed. And all of a sudden behind me, I heard just this loud honking of the horn. I mean, this person laid on the horn like crazy. And I glanced up, I woke me out of my reverie, and which I should not, I admit, I should not have been in that state and at a red light, especially being the first car, and I should have been paying more attention. But, we all zone out from time to time. And I looked in my rearview mirror and I could see this guy. He was flailing his arms around. He was cursing me out. I could tell he was still had one hand on the horn. The other hand was flailing up in the air with obscene hand gestures and just stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Like, take it down a notch, guy. And I immediately went. I hit the gas. I didn't even check the surroundings. I mean, I didn't even check to make sure the intersection was clear. I just kind of punched it and got out of there. And I felt really embarrassed by what I had done, that I had allowed myself to be put in that situation. And I kind of felt my energy just drop. And like I said, I felt embarrassed, but the truth of the matter is he was really the one that should have been embarrassed. He was the one that kind of really overreacted in that situation. But as you're going to hear when I get into the poetry reading for this week, because there's a man that kind of starts off the poem in a similar situation, a little bit of an overreacting and some road rage. And I guess we don't know what people are going through in their life, right? That was a common theme throughout my second book called Scatter Seeds of Kindness, where I had that theme over and over, that we don't know what is going on in people's worlds, right? I don't know if this man had a horrible day. I don't know if he had a fight with his wife. He just lost his job. We don't know what's going on. So I try to give some grace when I can, but I was really embarrassed and then brought down by the situation. By the time I got to the animal shelter, and here I was on a Sunday morning going to do a nice thing and go and take care of these animals, and suddenly my mood was just disrupted by this person. And I didn't tell anybody around what happened. I was just embarrassed by it, like I mentioned, and just tried to go on my day. But my energy by then had been brought down and nobody knew why. And so I was passing that along to other people who are like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to stay away from you today. So it brought the bad energy that he brought to me, I then brought to other people. And so it does transmit. It does, we can pass it along. So it's sometimes a good thing. And I've had it work in reverse too, where I have been in a really good mood and I'll kind of see somebody and I'll hold the door for them, or I'll smile. Or last week at a restaurant, this woman had a beautiful necklace on, and I just went over and I just said, I love your necklace. And you could see her whole face lit up. Or this woman a couple weeks ago at the grocery store had a beautiful Sunday church dress on. And I just went over, I told her, you look beautiful in that dress. And her whole face lit up. You could just tell. And so maybe I passed some good energy along to a few people. So I'm very much a believer in the law of attraction that states that what you put out into the universe comes back to you in kind. So if you put those good vibes out there into the universe, hopefully the universe is listening and they send good things back in return. But I've also seen it not happen either. I've seen where I keep putting good vibes out there and, things don't always work out as we would hope, right? You keep thinking, I'm a good and positive person, maybe good things are going to happen for me. And then it's like, you don't get that job, or the financial gain that you thought you were going to get from something doesn't amount to anything, or something like that, So the universe can only do so much, right? And we can try to help it along with our good vibes and our good energy. But sometimes what's meant to be is meant to be. And all we can do is just try to be the best type of person that we can be. And hopefully, if nothing else, maybe our good cheer and our good nature and our good energy will transform and maybe lift somebody else's spirit up, and maybe in turn, then they can help to lift somebody up. And that's pretty much the theme of the poem that I'm going to read to you in just a few moments. It's called The Energy You Send, and it tells the story of a man who's having a really, really bad time. He gets reprimanded at work. He comes home, he has a fight with his wife. And he, just is having a tough time. On the flip side of that, the next day, there's a young woman who is just having a great day. She's singing along to the radio, and these two, their paths cross, unbeknownst to either of them, and they kind of exchange that energy. That being said, the main character, the angry person, is a man, and the happy person is a woman. And it's not, I didn't write it like that on purpose. It just kind of fell into place that way. I've seen plenty of angry women and plenty of very happy men. So it's not like I'm hating on anybody by making the man the angry one in this story. It just kind of happened to be that way. So without further ado, I'd like to get into the reading of the story. Before I do that though, quick sip of my green tea. I'm going to go ahead and put my glasses on. And like I mentioned here, this poetry reading is from my latest book. I hope the glare from the light, you can see that. Sowed Seeds of Wisdom. All links to all of my books can be found on my blog. And again, that is called thepracticalpoet.com. In that case, it would be /books. Or if you wanted a printed copy and to read a little bit more of the backstory to this particular poem, it will be posted on my blog under /blog. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into this poem. It's a little bit of a long one. So as most of my poems are, I do tend to tell a little bit of a longer story here. So feel free to pause if you need to, come on back to it, or just if you'd rather just go head over to my blog and see the printed copy. And that way you can read it without having to listen to me kind of babble on, and Missy babble on in the background if you can hear her. So again, called The Energy You Send. A man sits in a traffic jam, feeling like an animal in a cage. He curses at the other cars as he flies into a rage. He honks at other drivers with a finger in the air. As he passes by, he turns to them with an aggressive stare. When he finally arrives at work, his boss is waiting there. She calls him to her office and tells him to take a chair. It's not the first time he's been late, and so he's reprimanded as he crumbles up the warning note that he has just been handed. Later on, returning home, he is cursing about his life. The day keeps getting worse as he argues with his wife. He finally goes to bed and has a restless sleep as bad thoughts swirl around his head and into his dreams they creep. The next morning, he's still frustrated and his anger, it is pent. How much of his bad day stemmed from the energy he sent? How much of our energy comes back to us in kind? How much are we impacted by the thoughts we leave behind? The very next day, a woman awakes with hope and gratitude. She slept so well, and all her blessings transfer to her good mood. She gets into her car to do some things that must get done. She rolls down all the windows and smiles at the sun. She waves to a pedestrian as she sings a cheerful song and catches every green light as she sails right along. She pulls into the parking lot as the song she loudly sings. The closest spot is waiting, and she gathers up her things. She waits for the man behind her as she opens up the door. She has no way of knowing it's the man from the day before. The man who had such a bad day and an equally awful night. She smiles at him as she wonders why he's so uptight. But her energy passes to him like the smallest lightning bolt. He feels something as they pass, akin to a jolt. Somehow he feels lighter as he thanks her for being kind. In turn, he waits and holds the door for the next person in line. He is gracious to the cashier as he gathers up his bag. For reasons he cannot explain, his bad mood starts to lag. He gets into his car and is suddenly grateful for the day. He cautiously backs out of his spot and patiently drives away. He turns the radio louder as he hears a familiar song. He surprises even himself when he begins to sing along. The woman had no idea that the energy she gave away had influenced another and made a difference in his day. Good or bad, our thoughts have power. It can't be denied. How many times do our thoughts reflect what we feel inside? Right or wrong, our thoughts have power, whether upbeat or negative. The things we think and say become the energy we give. We project these thoughts into the world, even if we don't realize. The universe is all-knowing, so our bad views we can't disguise. The law of attraction shapes our lives more than we may admit. Our lives may be impacted by the energy we transmit. Our energy comes back to us like it's been ricocheted. Suddenly we're lying in the bed our thoughts have made. These negative thoughts may leave our minds and start to gain some traction. Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, our thoughts can lead to action. And that action can be good or bad. Our thoughts can have the force to lead us where we want to go or throw our lives off course. So whether your thoughts are bright or more dark than you intend, the universe will receive the energy you send. So thank you so much for listening to that poetry reading and for listening to Missy here. I'm trying to quiet her down, but she's not listening to me. I'm trying to send her good energy, and she's just sitting here yelping. She wants her dinner, evidently, which is a good sign, means she's feeling better. So I will keep sending her that good energy. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it is coming up on an election week for us in this country. So I don't get political. I stay far away from that. I've seen too many friendships and relationships ruined. And I hope that whatever the outcome is, that people learn to be kind to each other, whether it's on social media or in person. Our thoughts do have power, and the energy that we give out, if it's negative, people pick up on that, whether or not we realize it. And it's a chain reaction of negativity. And let's start to try to turn that around and start to make our thoughts a little bit more positive. We can only control so much, right? So what can we control? We can't control the election. I mean, we're only one vote in this country, but we can control our attitude. We can control how we treat people. We can control our thoughts, and we can make them good and positive. And, hopefully that in some way will make a better impact on the world. So with that, again, I thank you so much for listening to my poetry reading of The Energy You Send. The printed poem and the backstory that goes along with that can be found again at my blog, thepracticalpoet.com/blog, and links to all my books can be found on that same site /books. I would love it if you would check them out. And I keep forgetting to say this at the end of every video. So if you like this video and you want to be notified, please like, subscribe, pass it along. And I will see you next week for another storytelling through poetry. And I hope that you enjoyed it, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And go vote if you are in the United States. Don't pass up this opportunity. It really is a privilege that we have in this country. So with that, have a wonderful week, and we'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye.